Good evening, everyone. We call the regular scheduled board meeting for August the 13th, 2019 to order. If you will, please stand, and we'll have the invocation and pledge led by Ms. Bobbitt.
Bow our heads, please. The Spirit of the living God, fall fresh upon us. Lord, we want to thank you how you allowed us to come together just one more time. Bless us to make the best decisions that we can make for the Glynn County school system, God, and let our children have a very productive school year this year. And also, Father, continue to bless all our military, look after them, keep them safe and out of harm's way. In Jesus Christ's name we pray and thank you, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Bobbitt. And congratulations. Y'all have just been blessed by an ordained minister, correct?
Yes.
So congratulations.
Need all the help we can get.
Congratulations, and we appreciate it. Good luck. We can use all the help we can get. Every little bit helps. Every little bit helps.
Took a long time to get there.
All right. That drops us down to inspiration. Dr. Cole.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mansell. Our inspiration tonight will be provided by Mr. Turner, the principal at Brunswick High School. I think he's got a little help.
Good evening.
Evening.
I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to come down and just provide a little inspiration for you guys. And I realize most of you don't want to hear a thing from me, but from my kids, so we're going to have one of our students come up just a minute. But we had a wonderful start to the year. This past Thursday, we invited more than 1,700 students in our school, and we're excited about it. I want to thank you guys for a beautiful building. It's in great shape, and our kids are glad to be there. We're continuing the tradition at Brunswick High School of improving on the previous successes that we've enjoyed. And one of the things that I want to steal from Mr. Blackstone is a statement that he made over this summer that I totally agree with. We are lucky to live in a community with multiple high schools where over multiple years we've had more than 90% graduation within our high school seniors, and that's an amazing thing. And that's not a credit to the work only of our school teachers and students, but that's a credit to everything that the employees of the whole county have done. So, getting down to the specifics. At the end of last year, you guys heard from our FBLA team. One of the things that you heard about was a trip to San Antonio. So I wanted to give you a little bit of an update. 18 members of our Brunswick High School FBLA team competed at the National Leadership Conference in San Antonio. And Jake Henson competed in the sales presentation and won 4th place in the nation. So he provided the best sales presentation in the state, 4th in the nation. A lot of other students placed. We had a couple of students, Cora Aliff, Colby Griner, Bethany Kirkland, and Prit Trivedi, who received American Level Business Achievement Awards. So those are great things. But again, I wanted you guys to see some of the great things that are going on at Brunswick High School and in our community. So I'm going to let Jake take it over from here.
Hi, how are y'all doing? Good, good. So, the trip that we had was really cool. It was my first nationals trip. And, you know, we had other people on there who had been before, and it was great. Yeah, and so they flew us over there, and it was really quick. I know airplane flights, you don't associate them with quick things, but Miss Beal knew what she was doing, and she got us there really quick, safe and sound. And so when we got there, first thing we did, we unpacked and we just started practicing. It was hours and hours of us just going to the lobby and just screaming in the middle of the lobby our presentations and our activities and all this. And so when we got there, the first thing we had to do was we had to silence our cell phones. And I don't... You would know. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me just... Oh, there it is. Pardon me. There it is. Sorry about that. Thank goodness. Y'all ever heard of a tile tracking device? Oh my gosh, so y'all heard of this 100-foot Bluetooth range device? Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Do y'all know how it works though? Well, the tile uses Bluetooth to help track your tile near and far. But wait, Bluetooth only ranges so far. What would happen if you stepped out of Bluetooth range? You'd lose your phone, right? With other devices, but with the tile, it uses geolocation to help find your tile's last known location, so you'll never have to retrace your steps again. Yes, and it also uses location history within the last 30 days to see where your tile has been, so you can go to that location and find it. And you can activate Community Find, which lets other people in tiles update you if they pass within range of your tile. So say you drop your wallet or your phone or the device that has your tile in it, and you're walking down the street and you realize you lost it. So you turn on Community Find. So if somebody else, say me, passes by your device, it'll send a message to you, and it's totally anonymous. And the tile cares about privacy, and it will not let you look on anyone else's phone, nor will it let anyone else look on your phone. So let me ask y'all a question. What's the number one item that you lose the most? Keys, exactly. So what do you do when you can't find them? Exactly. You retrace your steps, you tear apart your couch, you scream at your kids, it's terrible. So then, if you had a tile, all you would have to do is click it, ring it, and find it. So what items do your kids lose the most often? Yes, and what do they do to you when you can't find them? Oh yeah, they tear your head off. But if you had a tile, all you would have to do is click it, ring it, find it, and you're their hero. Boom, it's awesome. So there isn't just one type of tile, there's a plethora of tiles to suit your needs. Firstly, we have the Mate. That's the original and classic tile. With a range of over 150 feet, it's our most versatile tracker. And then we have the Slim. This is made for stuff like wallets, fitting in computer bags, and it has a range of 100 feet. And then there's the Pro. I saved the best for last on this one. With a range of 300 feet, it's basically a Mate on steroids, and it is our toughest tracker yet. Now, how much do you think these things cost? Yes, you'd think $100, wouldn't you? But no, the Mate costs $25, the Slim costs $30, and the Pro costs just $35. All right. Setting it up is easy. All you have to do is get your tile in the mail, and once you have it, you download the free tile app, and then you place it next to your phone, click it once, it'll play a nice little tune, and boom, it's connected. But how would you get one? Placing an order is simple. All you would have to do is fill out the information sheet. That was my thing. And so then, once you would pay with your card, it'll be shipped to you in just 3 to 4 days. Any questions?
You need a job?
All right, thank you all very much.
Just wanted to take that chance to share some of the specifics that are going on at Brunswick High and provide you guys with some inspiration for your coming year. And yes, if you guys need any employment agencies, Phil, we can help you out.
Thank you. Congratulations.
So Chip's wallet got stolen at Glen Academy one time, and we found the tile, but not the wallet. So there is that. I mean, it was where it was supposed to be, but the wallet was gone.
I've just got enough juice to try it.
Well, that's a hard act to follow. All right, the next up we have Lisa Morrison with the Nurses Conference, The Georgia Association of School Nurses hosted its 27th annual statewide educational conference in June. Through a partnership with the Georgia Department of Public Health's Public Health Emergency Preparedness Program and Georgia Trauma Commission, approximately 430 school nurses, 20 of whom work in Glynn County schools, were afforded the opportunity to take part in numerous school emergency triage training programs, which provide school nurses with the knowledge, skills, and training resources to lead school-based disaster response teams and perform triage in response to mass casualty incident events. Tonight we have Ms. Lisa Morrison here to tell y'all a little bit more.
Okay, so I'm not as much fun as he is, but I did give you pipe cleaners to play with, so there. So we had, with me I have Molly Harms and Kim Duncan. Molly is from Risley Middle School and Kim Duncan is from Glenn Middle School. And they both were at the conference as well, and I drugged them here to help with this presentation. They were easy. But we'd like to share with you the knowledge and skills that we gained and how we schools can be better equipped for any kind of mass casualty event. So you'll see where we were doing hands-on training. So what is a mass casualty incident? Does anybody know?
4 or more.
Any event that overwhelms the available resources. By available resources, this could mean that we don't have enough ambulances, enough personnel, or enough hospital beds. It could be natural, accidental, or intentional. Highway crashes, airway crash, major fires, building collapses, explosions, hazardous materials release, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, and floods. So effective management requires careful planning and training to maximize the effectiveness under less than optimal conditions. Most often, school nurses coordinate the collection of information from a variety of sources to develop the emergency response plan. And this requires coordinating it with school administrators, staff, healthcare providers, and other community first responders. So this program provided us to perform as leaders of triage and coordinators for emergency and disaster preparedness teams in response to any kind of mass casualty events that may occur in our schools, which we hope and pray that it doesn't. Some of the skills that we learned, the outcomes from this actually is, what we would need to be an effective leader in a mass casualty response, the Jump Start algorithm to perform a mass casualty triage, applying school emergency triage training knowledge to develop basic disaster prevention, protection, mitigation, response, and recovery plans for responding to disasters in schools. The importance of preventative training for disaster planning, organizing training, practicing and evaluating, I can't read tonight, maybe if I put my glasses on, before a mass casualty incident occurs in the school. These issues, which are unique to the school setting, impact the sustainability and effectiveness of disaster preparedness measure. So we're going to read you a couple of scenarios just to give you an idea of what may be involved and what we learned as far as triaging if it were a mass casualty event. Mr. Vidala, I know that you, as a nurse and that you are, that you go through a training as far as triage, and you have a different way of triaging people. Do you have any idea how many ambulances are in Glynn County?
How many ambulances? Private or public?
Public.
A bunch. If you put them all together, Glynn County has 8 and has a couple of standbys, but there's also many other organizations that have a bunch, like Golden Isles, Okefenokee has some. There's a bunch. I mean, probably 50.
And we only have one hospital, one ER.
Which has 35 beds currently.
Okay, and that's my next question. How many persons would tax the ER with severe injuries or other things?
It would depend, and since I'm kind of almost representing the hospital when I say this, it just depends on what you're allowed to do and who declares what. If the governor declares an emergency, then you can avoid the paperwork, which is what takes all the time, and you're allowed to actually do what you do, which is to save lives. That's to be overwhelmed. It doesn't take much. A busload of kids that are injured with an ER that's already full, which the hospital's already full, so you're holding. So at any given day could be an issue.
Exactly.
So.
because y'all are even lower right now, probably on the
Because we
space.
have less beds because we're under construction.
And at what point would EMS be able to come in after a mass casualty event in a school? Has anybody thought about that?
Say it again.
I bet Dr. Pulis knows that. What point would emergency response personnel be able to come in to the school after an incident happened?
Oh, there's a set time on that, but as far as whenever it's safe for them to do so.
That's exactly right. When it's safe to do so. In any of these events, before emergency response can even get there, it has to be safe for them to go in to take people out, or you're going to lose your help. So I'm going to let Molly and Kim read you a couple of scenarios, and this is what you're going to use your little pipe cleaners for. They're going to explain the triage system.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and explain to you the black, the red, the yellow, and the green. So your black pipe cleaner, that's going to be your victim that is unlikely to survive. Okay? So your immediate, which is your red, that is going to be your victim that can be helped by immediate intervention. Your yellow, that is delayed treatment. That is a victim whose transport can be delayed. It includes a serious injury and potentially life-threatening injury, but status is not expected to deteriorate in the immediate time frame. And then green is your minor. They are considered the walking wounded. So this victim has relatively minor injuries, and they can follow commands. So along with this training that we received, and she mentioned it earlier, algorithms, this training has an algorithm that goes through for those who are training and those who are actually using this in order to triage the victims. And so this one here, it actually has a combined. It's for adults and for pediatrics or kids. So it's called Jumpstart for the Kids. So we're going to go through a scenario here that involves adults and children, so you'll get an idea. So whenever I get through the scenario, I'm going to give you a victim, and then, if you will, raise the pipe cleaner that you think applies, the color that you think applies.
I'm not sure. I do the pen.
Can't cheat off of Mr. Madala. All right, so here we go. A bus carrying school children of various ages and their chaperones on a field trip loses control, slams into another vehicle. You are the triage officer. Okay, so a young school-age boy is found lying on the roadway 10 feet from the bus. His breathing is 10 per minute. He has good distal pulses. He groans to painful stimuli. What would you tag? Green, red, yellow, or black? All right, and I'm going to go through this for you. The algorithm, okay? After training, you would be able to do this within 30 seconds, be able to triage your patients. Are they able to walk? No. Is he breathing? Yes, but. Perfusion? Yes. Mental status? Does he obey commands? So, whenever you have the breathing coming into play, what would you consider this? Green, red, yellow, or black?
Edgy got it right. He didn't know.
Very good. Red. Good job. That would be an immediate. All right.
We'll have a green.
One.
We'll have a red.
All right, next victim. An adult kneels at the side of the road. Shaking his head, he says he's too dizzy to walk. Remember, Walking Dead, okay? He's shaking his head, he's too dizzy to walk. Respiratory rate's 20. His capillary refill, which is his perfusion, is 2 seconds. He obeys commands. What would you tag? Green, red, yellow, or black?
Kidney stones.
Well, maybe.
Yellow.
Half and half.
I can like I know.
Yellow, the ones who said yellow, it's correct because he can't walk.
Right.
That's the reason it makes it yellow.
Shake it off.
Okay, here we go with our
Won't be
next
taking it
one.
off.
A school-age girl crawls out of the wreckage. She is able to stand and walk towards you crying, jacket and shirt torn. No obvious bleeding. What would you tag? Green, red, yellow, or black? Very good. Walking.
I don't have green.
Okay, we have another child, and his lower body is trapped under a seat inside the bus. He is not breathing. Even with attempts to assist with breathing, he has no pulse. What would you tag him? Green, red, yellow, or black? Correct. Black. Okay, and then just to not prolong this, one of the interesting tags that we encountered during all of our training, it was 8 hours long at our conference, we thought was interesting. So I'm going to give you this scenario. There was an explosion, and one of the victims is an adult moaning. His intestines are exposed. He's holding his stomach. He's following commands. His respiratory rate is 30. His perfusion is within 2 seconds, and he's able to walk without assistance. What would you tag him?
I mean, you gotta go black and Texas.
No.
All right, everybody hold him up.
I know, anything inside out.
Okay.
Red and yellow.
Pick up your green one, because he is a walking wounded. He's following commands, and he is walking. Now, okay, here's the disclaimer. Although he is green now, okay, on a second triage round, okay, so how you do these things whenever you go through, you do verbal triage. If you can hear my voice, stand up and go to the right. So those are all of your greens. So now you've gotten rid of a majority of all of, hopefully a majority of all of your victims. So, but whenever you go through again, and you go through and do your red check, your yellow check, and you're going through, he's going to be high on the list to be looking at to go yellow or green quickly. So yes, even though he's up and moving, he's still considered a green on the initial triage.
We pray that none of this ever happens in any of our schools or on our roads with any of our children. But we just wanted to share with you what we learned. And if you feel it in your hearts to give us some extra days for training, that would be great. So, we'd like to train more staff. So I think this is very important considering today's times, and thank you for your time.
Let me, before y'all go, since I had the opportunity to ask you questions now, one thing that I try to explain to people about the pay and the big range of difference between nurses' pay at a school versus nurses' pay at a hospital is like half. I mean, it's significant. But the contact, I talk about relationships all the time and everything that we do. The contact that a nurse makes with the most challenged kids is significant, which is why that I think that whatever we need to do to continue to build those relationships, because it's all about a relationship that gets a kid through school. It has nothing to do with everything else is a part of it, but that relationship can make it or break it, and that's what a nurse does, and you deal with the most challenging students all day long. So for that, we appreciate it, and I applaud you. And I just hope that we can get other people to realize that that relationship is very important, and nurturing it, and whatever we can do with pay and things like that, or something that obviously, because of what I do, I think is important. Thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate y'all listening. And just remember that school nurses are the hidden healthcare system in our society. So, thank you for all you do for us.
Thank you very much.
This summer, 27 teachers participated in a sizzling summer science professional learning opportunity for math and science teachers made possible by a Math and Science Partnership grant. There have been two cohorts in June and July of the K-5 elementary science teachers who have been learning by going on science field trips this summer. They have also collaborated on lessons which will be shared with all teachers in the district. Tonight we have Ms. Kathy Pittman to tell more.
Good evening, and I have brought with me Kristen Liptrot, who was my co-facilitator. Couldn't have done this without her. And 3 teachers from our system, Allison Selber and Emily Strange, 4th grade teachers at Burroughs Millette, And Alicia Henson just happened to be in the lobby, so we recruited her. She was
Don't be looking for the same show,
June cohort and July cohort. And since school's in session, I thought it only appropriate for us to do a pop quiz.
Again? Great.
Yes. Don't talk to your neighbor. And I know some of you are tempted to do that because I've been in this situation with you before. But raise your hand if you can tell me what this is, how it's used, why it's blue, and what is the connection to Glynn County. Anybody?
I can tell you what it is, a bottle. With blue stuff in it. Yeah.
You taught them, by the way.
I spent a lot of time in high school trying to teach you too.
It took a little while.
And you still want to ask us that question?
It's the stuff that joint water sewer collects after you flush the toilet.
Oh, great. Thanks, Hank. I told you I didn't think this was a good idea.
I guess you'll all be with me next time we have him. This is a gallon of horseshoe crab blood.
Oh, yeah.
I
know it's the science.
Yeah. It is valued at $60,000 a gallon. Yes.
Wow.
Why? $60,000 a gallon.
Takes a lot of crab.
If anybody in this room has had a medical procedure, you have benefited from this. Why is it blue? Because it's copper-based, okay, instead of iron-based. And what it's used for, it is one of the best ways to detect bacteria in vaccines. So when you had your vaccinations as a child, they use this to make sure that the vaccine wasn't contaminated. And for medical devices to make sure they're not contaminated. The connection to Glynn County is this. They are doing research. The University of Georgia and a pharmaceutical company are doing research on Jekyll Island at Tidelands, and we saw this. And the reason they're doing research is there's only 3 areas in the world where you have horseshoe crabs, and when they harvest this blood, they take 30% of their blood. But unfortunately, 30%, they take them out of the ocean, they're out of the ocean for 1 or 2 days. By the time they get back, 30% of them die. And so the research they're doing on Jekyll Island is how to harvest this blood and not lose 30% of the population. This is just one of the interesting things that we've learned this year in Sizzling Summer Science.
I have a question.
Yes. Please do.
So that is part of the horseshoe crab that we have here.
Yes.
Okay.
And
I need to go.
I was
gotta go to Jekyll.
That water tonight.
I got a night date. $60,000 a gallon.
$60,000 a gallon.
In the wrong line of work.
Well, and if you go on the internet, I was going to put the slide in. They harvest them, and it looks. They've got machinery that they're all here, and it looks like when you see cows in a machine being milked, and so they're all up here, and they take 30% of their blood, but 30% of them die. It's really amazing. There's lots of YouTube videos that you can watch too, but didn't even know that this research was going on in Glynn County. $60,000 a gallon.
You got a contact number or anything?
Our extraction process will be a little different than that.
There may be a little shell in mine.
The point is that you want them to live. We had 4 kindergarten teachers, 5 first grade teachers, 1 second grade teacher, 4 third grade teachers, 7 fourth grade teachers, 4 fourth grade teachers, and 2 teachers that taught all. And at this point, I've got a slide for every individual and organization that taught us, because I didn't want to leave anybody out. And I'm going to turn it over to these ladies, because they're going to tell you what's going on the slide, because all I did was coordinate this with Kristen's help, make contacts, but they have done the work, and they are doing the work in the classroom. So next slide, and they'll tell you what we're doing.
Okay, so just to talk a little bit about what we did, Kathy approached me in February with a grant that she received with Dr. Whitehead, and what we wanted to do was give teachers that hands-on experience. I came from a non-traditional teaching background with a biology degree, and so I was able to experience all of these amazing amenities that we have with our community that dealt with the science standards. And it felt unfair that I had all this great knowledge and I was learning all this great pedagogy from other teachers. And so we worked together to really use connections that I had and connections that Kathy had to talk with the community members in this area to set up basically field trips for our teachers. And every person that we contacted was 100% on board, 100% wanted to work with us. We handed them specific standards that we wanted them to approach so that we would get a vast number of standards from K through 5. And in doing so, the students, the teachers, we were able to, teaching time. We were able to really go on some really unique experiences, and I think I'm going to let them take over soon, nervously as they are, but they were able to see things within our schools. We went on a trip to Burroughs, something was right here in our backyard. I had no idea how the Burroughs hydrothermal air conditioning system worked, so a lot of those teachers didn't either, and it was just right there. But then we went as far as Sapelo. We took trips to Sapelo, met with the education coordinator there, who talked intensely to us about our ecosystem and how that's directly aligned with our students and our water. And then we went to the water treatment systems, or really rather, the water pulling from the well systems with joint water and sewer. And so I hope you find on the coming slides that this was real science-based learning. It was not your standard learning. We had actual experts in the field teaching our teachers, and it was awesome. So if I'll let these guys step forward and they can tell you a little bit about maybe each slide and what we were doing.
I guess. So in the bottom left and right corners, you're looking at Brunswick's attic, I guess you would call it.
And we didn't know we had an attic.
We did not know it was there. So there's some doors out back that you can climb up the stairs, and that is actually where our heating and air units are. And he showed us slides of how they dig to the groundwater and pull up the cold air and release hot air. So that was interesting for us because we both worked there, and we're going to have that opportunity to speak to our fourth graders about how geothermal energy works. The other slides are at Georgia Power, and we were all excited to know they have an energy curriculum for grades K through 12. So they will be invited into our schools to perform lessons. I know the fourth grade one dealt with simple machines and used technology to explore a plant looking for simple machines in use. So that's energy.
So we went rattlesnake hiking. So I never thought I'd be able to say I have a selfie with a rattlesnake. And I went home and I told my mom, and she was like, "You did what today?" That was an awesome experience, getting to go deep into part of Jekyll Island that we didn't get to ever go through and hunt rattlesnakes, literally hunt rattlesnakes.
And for your next board retreat, if you want to do this, we'll call Joseph over to Jekyll Island. We'll be glad to take you.
I just want to go hunt horseshoe crabs. Keep the snakes. I'm going for a walk.
Okay, so this was when we had the Starlight, which is actually something that we have here in the county that's kind of been underused. And so it was a great experience for us to set it all up, see all the different things that are there and what all is available, because there are lots of different things. It's like this black tent that you go in, there's a projector, and then all these different slides that show just your regular stars in space, and then solar system, and then things according to Indian myths and Greek mythology, all that. So we're really looking forward to that and hoping that we'll be able to use it more and more. We've already got it booked. I'm from Sterling. We've got it booked a couple of weeks, and my kids are already pumped up. Like they've written it in their agendas when they're coming. So that was a real neat thing to see because I had never seen it before.
And another classroom strategy we talked about for science is using picture books. So Ms. Pittman got us these great books that have lessons based around informational and fictional storybooks. And Ms. Strange and I are actually going to use them a lot this year. And we're actually doing one right now to talk about space and the technology and how that's grown over time in space.
And all the schools got the complete set. The teachers that were there got 2 books each that were like most for our grades. But Ms. Goodwin went through and got the books and then correlated lessons to go with all the standards. And so I'm hoping our instructional coaches are gonna kind of break them up and be sure, but we've been spreading the word a lot, so I think we're gonna see those in lots of classrooms.
And we started one today,
Yes.
and the kids were so engaged. And we showed a 6-minute video about space.
And it
they
like
were just
zooms
like
out
us.
and they were like the whole time. So it was really awesome. So we also went to a water tower and found out how the point of water towers and how water came out of the ground and the use of them. And Ms. Strange and I, since we have a water tower right behind Burroughs Millette, we started the first 2 days of school looking at, our students had to look at their hands from Mystery Science, ask questions about your hand to figure out, start thinking like a scientist. And the next day, we went outside to the water tower, same process, and we were blown away by our kids' questions. You know, why is it a water tower? What's in it? So that was one thing we really used a lot so far.
Okay, that was fun. That was the beginning of our day, right? Okay, yeah, okay, we went to Epworth, and they took us and, well, see, I didn't do that, though. I mean, I did, but we did it in the room because it was raining.
Yeah, because it was raining.
But
They took us to, we just did different testing with different instruments that we now have, thanks to Ms. Pittman.
All of these teachers got a plankton net for their classrooms. They all got a water test kit. They love the water test kit.
It's
Does
really
10
cool.
does 10 different tests. They've all got a net to catch small bugs and animals. They've got a little microscope that is fabulous. That you can take the tube and just walk out of the classroom with it, and it sees opaque objects as well. But here they are catching plankton and testing the water, and then going back in the lab and looking at it. Next.
I think this was an amazing trip. I think that Kay Hall just enjoyed meeting us all at Summer Waves, if we're being honest. But he was teaching us all about motion, and so he showed us the whole, you know, how things move with force and this kind of thing. And then we had to get in the water, and we had little ducks, and we had to race them and see what could happen. We had to time them. Of course, he showed us how we could do that in the classroom as well. We don't have to take them on Summer Waves, but I mean, it did make for a fun day.
Yeah, they also, you know, the giant bucket at Summer Waves. So we're gonna attempt to try to
The
maybe
kids
do some
make
type of
them.
STEM activity using simple machines with the bucket for balance and unbalanced forces.
So we also contacted, part of Epworth, working with Epworth, we had another connection that was a geology expert, and so the teachers got to meet up with him, and we ordered rock kits for them to really go through that rock cycle process, mineral identification process, and some of those steps that are kind of tricky to explain to students if you're not understanding them yourself in depth. So really getting that one-on-one hands-on experience while also using the kit that then they could take back in their own classroom and then mimic that back to their students. So that's what you're seeing here. We also went to the Marine Extension here locally and worked with some of their experts on plastic pollution. And this was really interesting because we started talking not just about science, we started talking about math, and we started talking about how can this get cross-curricular, and how can we fold these things on top of each other. And so what you're seeing are some of these easy activities for us to manipulate in the classroom that also are the fabric beneath that is talking about plastic pollution and our concerns about it and our growing concerns and what we can do as good stewards of our own beaches to manage that and what we're doing as communities to be good stewards. And so that was a really fun day because they gave us some really practical hands-on experiences.
And a thumb drive, all of their resources that we can use.
We also had Laura from the Satilla River. She was our Satilla River keeper. She is our Satilla River keeper, and she came and gave a demonstration about how our watersheds function. It's something that's kind of elusive to to community members and students. It's a really hard topic to cover while also covering all of the basics of the water cycle. And so she came in and demoed that for us, helped us come up with some strategies and games that we can bring back into our classroom to help kids understand how what our neighbor does affects our own water system, or what neighbors 50 miles up the road or upriver, how that affects our own water, and how we can help them be good stewards even across our county lines. So expanding our community amongst us.
That was the most fun. We got to kayak. We went to Jekyll to Tidelands, and they took us out, and most of us in the July cohort had not kayaked before, and everybody was brave enough to do it, and really got out there and just had a great time. But the whole time they were talking about what was, what lived out there and how the habitats were changing and affected by the environment. And we went down through a little creek and saw, there were all these oyster beds. I mean, it was just, that was an adventure all by itself.
July saw manatee. June ate plants out of the marsh.
We ate plants and we did mud facials.
Yes.
I fell out of the kayak. I fell out.
But also,
Oh, that might have been this.
We went beach signing as well, so we went into the ocean with the giant net and circled around to try and catch things. We caught a lot of shrimp. Somebody actually ate a raw shrimp. We caught some fish and a lot of other things that we were able to examine up close, pick up the fish and look at it before we let it go back in.
We also ate some plants on the trail. That's Dana eating the toothache tree thing that, it made your whole mouth go numb. Sapelo was great. Yeah, that's what they used to do, I guess, before they had medicine. But, yeah.
That's pretty
Adam was there. He was so excited, like he could make you, everybody wants to go live on Sapelo and just take care of everything and love the earth. But he taught us a lot in the lab. We got to look at things, and then we went walking. Pretty long little hike, but it was great fun. And then we came back to the beach, and it was pretty soon after the whales, had washed up, and so he told us all about that because he was right there helping. And so that was another great day. We had a lot of great days.
more Sapelo. Yeah, this was just more Sapelo, and then you can go to the last slide. Just want to thank everybody. The community, like Kristen said, nobody turned us down. These teachers in June spent 8 days with me, Tuesday and Wednesday, every Tuesday and Wednesday in June, and in July they spent every Tuesday and Wednesday with me. And to spend 8 days with me is a challenge in itself. And so it was just a fabulous, and we're seeing what the teachers have learned translated in the classroom. So it was a great experience. Thankful that we got the chance to do it, and I appreciate you guys for coming and for helping me.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Horseshoe crab, Dan.
On July 31st, the Golden Hours broadcasting stations 104.1 The Wave, 92.7 SSI, and the New Magic 105.9 hosted their first Stuff the GMC Back to School Supplies Drive. And from that, they received 1,264 school supplies. Just take a moment and really let that sink in. All the donations went to Glynn County Schools. And here tonight we have Mr. Mark Edis here with Golden Hours Broadcasting.
Hey everybody.
Good evening.
So my name is Mark Edis. I'm the program director for Golden Hours Broadcasting Stations, Magic 105.9, 92.7 SSI, and 104.1 The Wave. This idea went from idea to execution in 6 days. So on the 25th of July, we were sitting in there in my office talking about things that we could do. School year is coming. I have a 9-year-old. I understand how expensive it is to send him back to school. Some people aren't able to provide everything they need to, and I know the teachers also have to provide out of their own pockets things that they can't be sent to school with. So we just kind of figured, we have such a great platform. with the 3 radio stations. And like I said, from the 25th to the 31st, just 6 days of planning. When I say that when we set up the morning at the 31st at the Lowe's parking lot, first hour was a little slow, and I was like, all right, this is a little interesting. But when I say that from 9 o'clock on to the time Brittany came to collect everything, we had nonstop traffic, and people just opening up their hearts. Really made me feel good. It made my heart feel good that people, were listening. Our listeners came out in numbers, and the community came out to really just, like I said, it really made my heart feel good that we live in such a great community, that people came out to help such a great cause. So I appreciate the invite here. My assistant program director, Paul, could not be here, but he worked really hard on this as well. But I appreciate the opportunity here tonight. And thanks to everybody who came out and donated. That, like I said, the community at large is amazing, and we live in a great place. So I just think about how just 6 days of planning turned into 1,264 school supplies. Next year, when we do it again with a lot more than 6 days of planning, how good can it be? We're doing it again next year, and I appreciate everybody's support and allowing us to come talk about it tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I need to find a way to get Jake on the radio. That kid was really good.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot, y'all.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. Well, there was a couple that came. I think it was a couple, but there was 2 retired teachers came, and they donated these 2 bags that say specifically for 2nd grade girl and boy, and they did it in honor of a former teacher who had served our school system for 34 and I believe 38 years. So just how impactful 6 days of planning had really come together. So, I mean, just being there myself, seeing it was amazing, and actually being at our maintenance department, unpacking all the bags and seeing it in its entirety it'll probably change my life forever, honestly, because I don't have kids, so, I get to see what this could possibly be for kids who don't have the means to, go to a store and buy these items. So, yeah. But that concludes my portion of the agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Kate. Appreciate it. All right, that'll take us to citizens address the board. The only person that signed up tonight is our beloved Miss Annie C. Polite. She knows the rules. Is she here? So you got 5, Miss Polite.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. There's so many things that I want to talk about, but mostly I want to let you know how great I felt in going over to Burroughs Millette and seeing all of the improvements that have taken place, because as everyone knows, we've opened a new building and whatnot. A couple of Saturdays ago, I had received a couple of calls, people telling me about the retention pond, and some kids are gonna die in there for sure, blah, blah, blah. You gotta go over and you gotta see what's going on. Needless to say, as I'm driving around, who do I see but Dr. Poulos and his family? And they were over there too to see the retention pond, because people don't realize that even though they have a beautiful facility there, those retention ponds are a great attraction for kids coming from 5 projects when it's hot, and they see that Olympic-sized pool out there with all this water. Needless to say, they had already been using the smaller retention ponds, and I'm quite sure the day that we were there, that large one was full of water. And I remarked to Dr. Poulos that we have got to do something. We need to fence those retention ponds in, and he said yes, the children have to be protected. He said it's going to take away from the aesthetics, but hey, later for the aesthetics, our kids need to survive. So I'm quite sure that he has given Mr. Boudreaux the information that, the community is looking forward to having those retention ponds fenced in so that, kids don't use them as they were doing the smaller ones. And it was even suggested that you even fence in the entire school because you have people and traffic going through back and forth all of the time. And certainly there are many things that kids can discover, and they are very curious and pay attention to everything that they shouldn't pay attention to. Now, one other thing I meant to mention too is that I was surprised to see the Boys and Girls Club over there, which is going to be a great help to the community, parents and students, because this will give them an opportunity to become better educated, to have someplace safe to be when they're not in school, and certainly to it will help improve their educational skills and all that they can learn and how they can develop and certainly become successful citizens in our community with that kind of facility on campus and available to them. In addition to that, I was thinking that, you know, with all of the money that come in for all of the kids who are on free lunch, ADHD, and all kind of disadvantaged kids, that some of this money could be used, especially now that you are about to put the report cards on computers or whatever you intend to do electronically. Not all of these parents have computers or the iPhones and all of that. They got those little phones that you all call them Obama phones, but that's what they have. They do not have access to all of the technology that all of you have. The thing is, these parents need something in their hand so that they can see what each kid, if one is in this school, that grade, or whatever, can look and see what it is their kids need and what they are doing or not doing. And I think we can at least take the time and effort to give them a hard copy of their kids' progress. We need to do this because these parents, when they come home from these jobs running back and forth, they got to do laundry, they got to cook, they got to do this, that, and the other, and with several kids in several schools and different activities, they don't need to be trying to be on the computer or phone to find out what's going on here, there, and all over. Please make it easy for these parents to help their children to succeed as we help our teachers to perform and give them what they need, the tools they need in order to be successful. Let us not put stumbling blocks in their way. Let the parents be able to help their children. And on that note, I want to encourage the parents to set the type of example for their youngsters so that they can be successful citizens in not only our community, but wherever they go. And you are the first role model parents that your children see, and you need to conduct yourself in such a way that they learn from you how to behave, how to respect adults, how to respect authority figures, and how to succeed in life. And this is my plea, not only to you as a board to make it easy for them to get access to the information they need for their kids, but also for the parents to make sure that their children get the type of modeling, type of behavior, know what it is they need to do in order to succeed and be successful. Thank you very much. By the way, the play I'm in didn't happen in July. It's going to happen in October. And I'm going to be Miss Harriet Tubman. The tickets are $25. And I want to see all of you there at the Ritz VA. Thank you very much. We'll get more information later.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Black. All right, we'll go into approval of the agenda. I have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Halsey, second by Ms. Bobbitt. Can I still call you Ms. Bobbitt, or I need to call you
That's right,
Pastor
that's
Bobbitt?
right.
That's fine.
Ms. Bobbitt's your honor. Okay. Honorable Bobbitt. Okay. Motion on the floor has been seconded. All in favor of approval of the agenda? Raise your hand. Unanimous, thank you. Consent agenda items, I'll run over them real quick. Approval, or I'm gonna do 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And then I'll read these back. 14, A and B, C, 1 and 2, all of D. Mr. Medalla, do you need to go over the policy, or are you just
I
gonna
think,
adopt it?
unless anybody has any questions, we can.
I'll put E on there. If we want to take it off, you can delete it
Dr.
in a
Poulos,
second.
anything you want to add to it?
We added the one sentence that Ms. Sands asked about, the exchange students. And so
Is everybody okay with that on consent?
It just clarifies that it's 1 year of eligibility.
Okay, so E1 as well. I'll read those back. Well, I'll read them back, and then we can approve. 8 is the approval of the July 27 special call board meeting minutes. 9 is approval of the July 9th work session minutes. 10 is approval of the July 9th regular board meeting minutes. 11 is approval of the July 30th special call board meeting minutes. 12 is approval of the local school board governance annual training report for the fiscal year 2018-2019. 13 is approval of the local board training plan for 2019-2020, which has come around and you guys have signed. 14 under A is personnel. 14B is field trips. 14C1 is approval of the GOOD report. 14.2 is approval of the bid of the AC chiller for Glenn Academy and the new gym. 14D is finance committee, all of which we went over in work session on Thursday. 14E is the policy committee, which we just discussed, and we also went over on Thursday. Is there any deletions or additions to the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented. Motion by Mr. Halsey.
Second.
Second by Vice Chairman Edgy. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you very much. That'll put us down to 14C3, which is under facilities, and it's the approval of the auxiliary buildings demolition and paving by Mr. Boudreaux.
We have a late-breaking action item here, and that is to, with the, considering the parking situation at Glenn Academy, we're proposing to demolish the 3 annex buildings on this side of the block on our property, and to make as much parking as we can. And this estimate is from Ridge Enterprises, who did the demolition at Burroughs Millette, doing a site work at New Altama. And once we approve this, he's ready to get it underway and hopefully have us ready to go by the end of September. Total on it was $128,637. That will include the demolition, some tree removal, grading, and base for parking. Base material. It won't be a paved asphalt parking.
It'll be based like what we have out here now on the front side.
Like this southern lot right here.
Right. It's the white rock type deal.
You're gonna put curb stops out so that it's organized, or
That would be about, yeah, we can't stripe it, so I think
Right.
the wheel stops would be the way to go in there. Once we see how it lays out, we can try to get as many parking places as we can.
Do you have a guesstimate on how many spaces we'll pick up? I mean, obviously you gotta lay it out, but
With everything gone, including the annex building on the corner, I'm thinking we'll get about 70
total.
70 places. In addition to, we've got 18 or 20 right here now, so
Mhm.
it makes, it's better than nothing.
we expect to lose as many as 150 by the lack of the other parking lot.
Mhm.
Well, as you know, we're going to continue to look around and work on it. So it's going to be, this is the first step of probably 2 or 3 to get to where we need to be for parking. So appreciate Al getting that quickly, and we're going to move as fast as we can.
I have a question. What budget covers the cost?
Our technology, I think, right?
Okay. So these spots. Okay.
Well, it's definitely a necessity. I mean, we've all known that for a long time, but losing the church parking lot has really hurt. But we do appreciate the other surrounding folks and those folks at the United Methodist working with us and allowing us, I guess, 2 more months. They've delayed their actual construction.
The 30th of September is our target.
So we appreciate them delaying their construction in order to allow us to try to move quicker. But unfortunately, we're kind of landlocked. I mean, not a whole lot we can do. We're having to demolish our buildings in order to make parking, and we'll continue to look at other options, which Dr. Cole is in works trying to see what we can do for other properties here locally and nearby. So appreciate that. But it is what it is at this point, but we appreciate Al jumping on it. And are there any questions for Al?
And I have driven by there pretty much every morning since school started. It seems to me like there's still more parking available down, the south end of Albany Street, down George Street. It's still a walk, but it's still a walk from, Gloucester right now. So, I think us doing this will help, but there is still parking available for those willing to walk.
Well, and the other thing though, Dr. Yerger, is that it grows, the number of students. who
Right.
get
Turn
taught,
16
et cetera.
throughout the
It's
year.
a rotational, so by mid-year, you're gonna see a growth, and by the
Yeah.
end of the year, it's overflowing.
Yeah.
It's tough to gauge too in the middle of the day because you don't know how many people drive to GECA, and
This
so
is
it
first
grows.
thing in the
It
morning.
grows throughout the day.
It's
It
first thing in the morning
fluctuates.
after
So
dropping.
if you drive by the parking lot and there's 50 spaces open, it's probably because those aren't available technically. I mean, they're coming back or on their way. So.
Okay, any other questions? All right, so I would entertain a motion for the approval of the auxiliary building demolition and paving in the amount of $128,637 to Ridge Enterprises Incorporated.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Yergin,
Second.
second by Pastor Bobbitt. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, motion approved. Thank you. So you'll start on that immediately?
Tomorrow you're gonna start with a sledgehammer here.
We have a little make ready work to do, but
Well, we also appreciate, let me just mention, I guess, the actual staff members willing to pack up, move 4 days into school. I mean, I know that's a lot on a lot of people trying to, just getting their feet set, and now they're having to pick up and relocate. We appreciate that for the accommodations that everyone else is making too, so please pass that along from the board. No need for executive session unless we don't have an update on the legal situation. We'll work on that next week. Yes, sir. Anybody else need anything for land or personnel? We're good? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Yergin,
Second.
second by Ms. Sams. Any discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous at 7:03. Thank you.